Welcome to episode 2 of Tales from the Midnight Diary. My name's Gemma and I'm coming to you from Kent, where I live with my husband, my 2 cats and my dog. And on this channel I share with you all things fibercraft related, including my hand-dyed yarns, tips, tricks and know-how about knitting and crochet, and of course this series which is my weekly podcast Tales from the Midnight Diary, where I sit and have a crafty chat with you guys and really enjoy getting to know you and what you're up to, and share with you what I've been making in this past week. So yeah, welcome. If you're a new viewer, thank you very much for trying out the podcast. You are very welcome here and I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It still blows my mind week after week, month after month, year after year, that some of you would keep coming back and spending some time with me. And especially over the last year with the pandemic. I've actually had the real pleasure of getting to know lots of you in real life. Real life is Zoom now, right? I've had the pleasure of getting to know you in real life, and it's been an absolute joy. We just had coffee morning this morning and it was so much fun. We were kind of reminiscing about old times. It's been a year, folks. It's been a year. And our early conversations, and I met another person who I've kind of seen around on Instagram, and bless her, she's gone back and watched every single episode of my podcast, which then basically made me feel like I was sat in my underpants. Do you know what I mean? You feel really seen. But no, it was absolutely lovely to meet you, Natty, this morning. It was really nice, and I do hope you'll come back again. Just to be clear, I wasn't sat in my underpants. It's just that whole like, oh, you've seen all my mess and all my blethering online. But yeah, so this is it. I've been rambling already. See, cabin fever. We're on the first weekend in February, and lockdown fever is strong, folks. Lockdown fever is strong. Anyway, I'm kind of leaping into blather at the beginning of the episode, the kind of chatty bit. So we'll try and get this back on track. I've got no idea what I've said now. I'm Gemma. I'm here. I have a podcast, and apparently I've been doing this for a few years and I'm kind of professional. Suffice to say, I'm really glad you're here, and I hope I haven't scared some of you off. And if you wanted to go back and see back episodes and the whole podcasting journey from my very first very nervous episode, that you can find that under the playlist, the Project Bag podcast. I've recently rebranded my company to Midnight Dyery, hence Tales from Midnight Diary, and we're having a fresh start. Although fresh start doesn't necessarily mean more professional, as the first couple of minutes have proven already. Okay, so I'm going to put my coffee down before I spill it, and then we'll get talking about all things crafty, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Weekender sweater. This is a paid-for pattern by Andrea Mary, who goes by Drea Renee Knits. It is available on Ravelry and her own website, which is awesome. And it's an Aran weight or worsted weight jumper, so it's a nice quick knit. Having said that, it took me a ridiculously long time to make. Yeah, a couple of modifications. So I didn't do the cuffs with the rib. I just ripped the cuffs off because I don't like ribbed cuffs, and let the stocking stitch roll, and I really like the effect of that. It's kind of bracelet length, which is great for the washing up. And that's it really. Oh, and I accidentally modified here as well. This is meant to be a 3-needle bind off and kind of mimic this faux seam going down here, but I did the 3-needle bind off, but I did it, I don't know if you can see this, so weird. There we go. Oh, I did it inside out. But actually I kind of like it and it doesn't irritate me too much. I've worked it in the Croft Shetland tweed from West Yorkshire Spinners, which I purchased from my local yarn store, the Yarn Dispensary in Faversham, £9.50 a skein, and it's machine washable, which I discovered having put it in the washing machine. I mean, it did say on the ball band that it was machine washable, so it really should be. But there's always this sort of hairy moment when you discover a hand knit in the washing machine. But it actually came out beautifully. It's really soft. It's quite pilly, being, I don't know if you can see. I'm doing my arms now. Weird things. But yeah, it's quite pilly. It's a pure wool product, so there will be an element of pilling, and I'm gonna go into care for your hand knits and different fibres in one of my upcoming mini skein vlogs, which will be landing on the channel shortly. So a whole host of exciting things coming your way. New look podcast, no more professional Gemma, uh, new 2-minute Tuesday tutorials. There's another one landing on the 9th. Longer tutorials to go along with my patterns, and also I want everyone to be able to knit, and I think in lockdown knitting and crochet are so important. They are such vital tools for mental health and therapy and community. So there's going to be lots more of that coming the way, and also I like a good old chinwag, so I've decided to start some mini skein vlogs where I take a bit of time every couple of weeks or so to chat about something that has been playing on my mind about the knitting fibery world, or something that's been giving me pause for thought, that we'll spend a little bit more time discussing. So that's what I'm wearing. It's super cozy. It is snowing outside, so of course I had to pop it on. I was wearing a dress this morning, but I popped it on and ran out into the snow, dragged my poor long-suffering husband and the dog with me. I'm like, come on, I need pictures in the snow, whee! And took a series of terrible photos, but I don't care, it's good fun. There's just nothing like a hand knit for keeping cozy, which kind of takes me on to my finished objects. I've been super busy, and I have actually got a finished object that I can't show you. The finished object is a design for my March cozy boxes. So the cozy boxes are one of my new kind of inventions, my new products for the Midnight Diary. And the idea is that every quarter I send out to people who have chosen it a box with a skein of yarn and a pattern, both knitting and crochet, and some extras, with the idea of kind of keeping us cozy and feeling a bit hugged and loved at a time where we feel quite isolated. So yeah, I've finished the mock-up for the pattern. It's gone to testers. I then knit the whole things afresh, ready for photographing in the snow. Yeah. But I can't show you because it's a mystery. So there you go. I finished something. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. Okay, so on to works in progress. I showed you last week my whip board, which is looking rather svelte compared to the whip board of 2020 and 2019. I've discovered that I like finishing things, and I don't want to cast on new things. I want to finish more things. So I have been focusing predominantly on whips. The first whip that's had some love is the Eliza Tea by Verity Castledine, who is truly hooked. This is actually, it looks like I've done nothing. I mean, it's basically, it does just about cover the booby doos now. Just about covers the girls. It's a present for a friend. And believe it or not, I've been working really hard on this week, but it doesn't look like it's grown at all. Each round of crochet takes me half an hour, so it does take quite a while. But here is my progress keeper. This is where I was last time on the podcast, and you can see I've added, hold it up that way, might be clearer. Yeah, I've added a couple of inches to the length. I'm slightly nervous I'm going to end up playing yarn chicken because I've got that much left of the first ball and only one more ball to go. So we'll have to see. I might need to incorporate some sort of coordinating semi-solid and fade it in perhaps. It's got little cap sleeves to go yet as well, so I'm a little bit nervous that I'm not going to have enough yarn. I'm doing it on a smaller hook than was recommended, but the person this is for really likes the fabric. You know, it is still quite holy, but it's more dense. So obviously that means it's going to use more yarn. But yeah, it's really nice to just go round and round and round. It's from the book On the Hook by Truly Hooked, aka, no. It's from the book Truly Hooked. No, it's from the book On the Hook by Verity Castledine, aka Truly Hooked. That took me far too many times to say. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about it really. It's a really lovely pattern, really well written, and I can't wait to give it to my friend. The second whip that's had lots of love this week has been my Circle of Friends shawl by Joji Locatelli. So I started doing this last year, and I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn. So this is the Project Bag Merino nylon in hops, which is the green colourway, which reminds me of the hops from the hop festival we have here in Kent, and Grubby Goldfish, who is my original first ever hand-dyed yarn. Actually, I could show you the first ever incarnation of this. I might just grab it. This is the original Grubby Goldfish, the very first skein of yarn I ever dyed. I was going for a sort of pumpkin spice latte, and when I pulled it out of the dye pots, I was really disappointed, and my husband said, well, why? It's nice. I said, no, it's not nice. It was meant to be like pumpkin latte, and because, you know, cliche, bandwagon, I'm on it. And it's like some sort of grubby goldfish. I was really unimpressed. But yeah, here it is, the very first skein of Grubby Goldfish I ever dyed. And it's become one of my most popular and enduring colourways. And actually, I'm looking back on this with a lot of affection. So last time you saw it, I had done some of this green, and I've basically, and while I was editing last week's podcast, added on this row of bobbles that took forever. So yeah, it's had a lot of love, but it just hasn't grown very much. But I'm looking forward to having this crescent shaped shawl by Joji Locatelli. From what I can find, it is available on her Ravelry store and her own shop as well. Interesting note on Ravelry, incidentally, I'm still using it insofar as I'm kind of downloading things and I've got my yarns on there and etc. And I noticed that obviously they are toggling, they're turning off the old skin, I think they call it a skin, in March, and I thought I'm just going to switch to this new one and just see if they've done anything. And actually they have done something, which is the kind of glaringly bright white makes your eyes hurt one is called Merino, and they've added a kind of taupe tan, kind of almost like the colour of my wall actually, skin, which they've called Herdwick, and you can choose between the two. So I think that choice is actually really good, and it certainly helped me when I was starting to use it, because the increased white space, or off-white space, is actually really good for visual stress. So yeah, I didn't know if any of you knew that had happened. I certainly didn't. But I found it interesting, and it makes me wonder what else is going to happen along those lines. But I'm not going to get into all of that now. I'll just say it's there if you fancy checking it out. Yeah, so can't think what I was saying now. It's available on Joji's own website as well as Ravelry. So I'll put the link to Joji's website down there. It's quite pretty, isn't it? I'm not sure it's really my colours, but I say that I dyed them, but you know what I mean. But it could, I don't know, it could be quite nice for spring. The final thing that I have been working on, other than obviously that finished object, which I took a couple of days out of the week to do and can't show you, is an acquisition. And this acquisition is a book that I'm really excited about. It is by, I don't know if I can actually call her a favourite designer when I've never knit one of her patterns, but I hoard her patterns. And yeah, I'm going to call her a favourite designer. A favourite designer, Anniken Allis, who is absolutely lovely. I met her in real life at Yarndale and got completely starstruck and kind of and was totally eloquent and professional. And basically I do this thing where I buy knitting magazines, and after a while I go through and I pull out the knitting. I literally rip out the patterns that I think I might actually want to make. And the number of them that are Anniken's, honestly, I must pull out every single shawl that she puts in magazines. I'm obsessed. But yeah, I've never knit a single one. So I decided that this was going to be the year where that would change. So I treated myself to her book, Easy Lace Knits, which I'm going to do a review at some point. But it is just fantastic. It's got 20 projects in here. Not all shawls, there are a couple of scarves, some mitts, even a top or two, which look really exciting. I've just noticed she signed it. Isn't that lovely? Because I bought it direct from her website. Look. Enjoy the book. Happy knitting, Anniken, January 2021. Well, there you go. Aren't I lucky? I'm even more starstruck now. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. It's beautifully produced. Stunning knits using a range of yarns, not all indie dyed, some commercial as well. And I just love it. And I love that. See, I said I'll do a review at some point. I appear to be reviewing it now, but it's got like how-tos at the beginning and different cast-ons and tips for reading charts. So I thought I'm going to dive in, and I have just the yarn for it. So I don't know if you remember last week, I shared with you my new Merino Tencel base, which is 50% Merino, 50% Tencel, and it's a 4-ply or fingering weight yarn. And it is just beautiful. Look at it. See the shiny, so shiny. See, some things don't change. Some things will never change. This was a one-off skein, a kind of lonely sketchbook, use up all the dyes skein, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to use this and I'm going to make a shawl from Anniken Allis's book. It's 333 meters per skein, and actually that's being completely honest about my own base here. That's where I've come a bit unstuck, because a lot of shawl patterns use more like the 400. But this one I found in her book will use it, and it's will be fine. Also, a lot of her yarns are actually lace weight. Go figure. See if I can find a decent picture. Oh, there we go. So I am doing this shawl here. See if I can get the glare off of it. This shawl, and it's all garter stitch, and then it's just got this band of lace. So it's quite a good one to start with. And it is called Palma. And I cast it on this morning in coffee morning, and I've got that far. So I haven't got terribly far, but I just love the colours and the sheen, and I think it is going to have the most delicious drape. Being completely honest about my own yarn, I started with a different pattern of Anniken's, one with a bit more lace on it that I had in stash, one of my ripped out patterns, and it called for a long tail cast on. And I did find that with the twisting of the yarn for the long tail cast on, the plies kind of unwound themselves a bit. So you could say that it's a splitty yarn. You can see how easily that untwists there. Yeah. So you could say it's a splitty yarn, but actually to work with, it's not splitting at all. It's totally fine. This one is different. It's kind of a take on the garter tab. This particular cast on. Yeah, so I mean, that's all I've got to show for it so far, but I absolutely love it, and I love the colours, and I can't wait to do the lace, and it's so shiny, so shiny. So believe it or not, that is it for creative content. Oh, I could talk to you about the 100-day project. The 100-day project is a bit fun. Last year I did a 100-day project where I chose to do an hour a day of cross stitch, and I managed to finish quite a big cross stitch that had been languishing on my frame for years, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. I think I've actually got it here. As luck would have it, it happens to be hanging out on the back of my sofa, waiting to be ironed and framed. There we are. So, I mean, to me, that's quite a big and involved cross stitch, but it's, you know, I really like it. I like the little sheepies. Yeah, so I decided to do it again because I've taken on a different cross stitch this time, and I'll flash a picture up on screen. Except for this cross stitch has 110,000 stitches, and I'm managing approximately 200 stitches an hour. So the 100-day project is not going to cut it. Having said that, it has been really nice to sit down and start working on it again. The last few days I haven't done it at all because, to be honest with you, I've been really busy getting ready for Monday. There's something happening on Monday I'm a little bit excited about. It's my shop launch. I'm so excited. I can't help it. I'm so excited, folks. I'm so excited. Yeah, it just feels like the last 3 years have kind of been building to this, and this is it now. It's really happening. I'm really doing this. I am the Midnight Diary, and here we go, and it's so exciting. So sorry, I've completely distracted myself now with being excited. So yeah, that's the kind of creative stuff that I've been up to this week. Other than that, there's nothing really to talk about. Let's talk about make-alongs. I have brought back the isolation along. I've kept this quite quiet, but I'm going to start doing it again and sharing people's projects that they've made during lockdown when using the hashtag isolation along. And at the end of February, I will be drawing a prize for that hashtag on Instagram. There is also the vanilla along that is continuing with Allis, Dr. Sockstagram podcast, which we are continuing throughout the whole of lockdown. There is a hashtag vanilla along FO to enter your finished objects, but you can also enter your finished objects into the Facebook group, which is currently called the Project Bag Club. So do get yourselves over there and get your photos in that album. Yeah, the other make-alongs I've been joining in with are, I don't think it's really a make-along. I've been doing the Loose Ends Mal, which is by Vicky Bird Designs. That is a make-along. So you raid your whip box. Incidentally, Nella is having a raiding whip box 21, which is also very cool. And you finish or frog things that you have had on your whip board for quite a while, and so that's kind of maybe where the finishing spree has come from. But Vicky's also hosting, I believe it's with Yarn Street, she's hosting a Socks of February kind of challenge, Instagram challenge for the whole of the month of February, and it's got me thinking a lot about socks. And I've got a bit of a problem, right? Because one of them was show off your hand knit sock collection, and so I got my hand knit socks together and I laid them all out and I took pictures and they were really pretty. No one has noticed the glaringly obvious issue with those pictures. There's only one of each sock. You might think, yeah, but you wouldn't necessarily put two of the same sock in the picture because you've got lots of socks to photograph. No, I genuinely don't know where the other socks are. Every single sock in my hand knit collection is currently missing its mate. And I do not know what has happened. There's been some sort of argument in my sock drawer, I think, and half of them have gone off in a huff. So I'm going to have to go through the house and try and find my socks and find out what's happened to them. But it's definitely got me thinking about make-alongs and about making more socks in the future. And I've got another design that's just gone out to testers, and I'm not going to share it now because I haven't got anything to show for it, and it's got to go to my tech editor, but that will be coming down the pike in a few weeks. So let's get to what you really want to hear about and what you really want to see. And that, of course, is the new yarn that is going into the Midnight Dyery store on Monday, the 8th of February, 8:30 p.m. GMT. Don't miss it. First of all, not yarn at all, but the patch bags or pin badge bags or just drawstring project bags, whatever you want to call them, are going into the shop. These are made in denim. Mine is covered in dog hair. Yours is not because it is in plastic bags. Hosts, I mean, that's got skeins for another sweater, for another make-along that I will be sharing with you in the next couple of weeks because I'm going to be relaunching another make-along. Hooray! These will be in the shop. There are only a very limited collection available, and they'll be £15. See, there's the rest of them. They're all in nice bags, being protected. So let's show you my Palma cotton base. I'm kind of going for some sort of pastellian rainbow thing here. I've got a pale blue on the dye pots at the moment, which I'm hoping will be dry and ready in time, but we don't know. But yeah, so I'm launching some of my colours for my cotton double knitting weight yarn. This is 100% Palma cotton and it's really squishy. This is cherry blossom, orange blossom and spearmint or peppermint, one of the two. It's a minty colour anyway. So I've got a few skeins of that, and that is 220 meters, I think, per 100 gram skein, 100% DK weight Pima cotton, and it's squishy. And onto my Merino Tencel base, I have Playing Fields shown here, which is coming up really violently green according to my camera screen. So we'll see what happens on the actual computer. But at the moment, this is coming up quite vibrant. Is it gonna? I don't know really. But it's gorgeous, and it's that lovely shiny Merino Tencel. Tencel, incidentally, I did mention this before, but it is smooshed, you know, crushed wood pulp. So it's kind of similar to a rayon, but it's more natural, and it's the wood comes from sustainable forests. So it's all full of the good stuff. Full of the good stuff. Gives it the strength of nylon, the shine of silk, and none of the scratchy head do I really feel comfortable with this vibes. Gotta win. This might be my favourite. This is called By the Lake, or no, it's not. It's called Lake Moat. You're not called By the Lake, are you? No. It's called Lake Moat on my Merino Tencel base, and it's the main strongly variegated colour that I've done. Let's find a really good example here. There we go. And it's got all the greens and golds of the tree line around the lake in Moat Park, which is where Magnus and I take a lot of our walks. I found it really inspirational to be there, and I think that might be my favourite. I really like it. I have sweater quantity of that going into the shop as well. I also have Twilight going into the shop and a sweaters quantity, again on Merino Tencel. And I know I said the last one was my favourite, but I think this might be my favourite. This is the yarn I shared last week that didn't have a name. It now does. I used a random name picker to put in all your entries from YouTube and Instagram, and the one that was selected was blackberry picking, or picking blackberries, and that was suggested by Maddie, who I've contacted, and she has chosen a skein of Grubby Goldfish from my signature collection for her prize, so I'll be dyeing that up for her later. But it's deep purples, blacks, it's just a bit gorgeous, and I love it. Sweaters quantity of that going in as well. And last but by no means least, we have the Galaxy Minis collection. So these are mini balls created from the single skeins that I dyed of the Galaxy collection. So we have Galaxy, Orion's Nebula, Comet, and Andromeda. And these will be as limited edition sets in the shop. There are 4 available. So you get 100 grams overall of my Merino Donegal DK, and it's 85% superwash merino, 15% Donegal neps. Oops, whoops. Balls are flying everywhere now. Oh no, it went on the floor. Right, okay. So there's a debate going on at the moment, because these actually took me 2.5 hours to wind into the mini balls last night, and then I've got to wind them again into mini skeins. So I kind of put a question out there. I was like, do you fancy maybe, do you want to, you know, have them as mini balls? So I'm going to offer it as an option, because it's definitely split people down the middle. Mini skeins are so pretty, but mini balls are so practical. So I'm going to add it as an option to the listing. So if you choose to get one of these and you want them turned into mini skeins before I send them to you, then just pop a note or tick the box that I'm going to put on the options there. So that is everything that's going into my shop on Monday the 8th. And I've just realised that the launch party that I'm hosting, the Zoom I'm hosting, clashes with when I would normally premiere this podcast. So I'm going to have a think about that. Whoops. Great plans, great plans. The only other thing I've got to share with you is a couple of acquisitions. Long-term viewers of the podcast will know that I have a little girl. She is called Lara, and she passed away when she was just over a month old. She was extremely premature, and defied all the odds for a long time, and was feisty and strong and beautiful, and unfortunately she didn't make it. She was 32 days old, and this coming Thursday would be her 3rd birthday. I do a lot of fundraising in her memory. We've raised coming up for £1,000 now from sales of the Lara's Legacy sock pattern, which is really exciting. And you can find that on my PayHip store if you want to download it. All proceeds go to Bliss, the charity for the newborn. But as I say, lots of people know, and certainly people in this world have always known me as Lara's mum. She was born a month after I started my business, and everything was kind of put on hold, obviously, and yeah, precious girl. One of my dear friends talked to Tracy of Nora George Yarns and got one of her January wildflower clubs sent to me, and it is this snowdrop. Now, the snowdrop is actually Lara's flower. They came out the weekend she was born, and so we've always associated them with her. There's actually also a really lovely poem that we read at her service called The Snowdrop, which is utterly beautiful. So when this arrived, I knew exactly what it was before I even opened the packet, because I happened to have seen that January's was the snowdrop, and it just meant the world. So this is going to become a very special project at a time when I can't get to her to give her her flowers or, you know, look after her plot. So this means the absolute world. And I think it's going to become the next in the Lara's Legacy collection of patterns. To that end, I also bought my first skein of Skein and the Stitch yarn. Jess is a very talented sewist, and she's recently turned her hand to hand dyeing and is absolutely knocking it out of the park with that too. And this is Amethyst, which is her birthstone collection, and it's the birthstone for February. So of course I had to get myself a skein of that as well. And actually I think they go really nicely together. So there is the option of a 2 skein project for the next Lara's Legacy project in the collection. I also really appreciated the fact that Tracy put in a special note from Jo for me. She handwrote it for me, and it meant the absolute world. So there we are. To that end, I'm not entirely sure if there will be a podcast next week. Lara's birthday is on a Thursday. My husband is working, he lectures, and I think we're probably going to take the weekend to do something together to honour Lara. So I'm not entirely sure that I will be recording next Sunday. So the best thing to do, I guess, is to follow me on Instagram, maybe hit subscribe and the notification button, and then when I do upload a new video, you won't miss it. I upload a couple of times a week. The podcast is weekly, and there are tutorials and mini skein vlogs and things as well for your enjoyment. Right, that's it from me. Thank you very, very much for sitting down and joining me for another chat. I hope that you've had a really lovely week. I hope that you continue to have a lovely week, and it's filled with all things crafting. And this week I would love to know how you've been creating during lockdown and isolation. Have you found yourself finishing all the things, or are you just casting on all the things? How is this affecting you and your crafting journey? Do let me know in the comments below. Take care, have a lovely week, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me this week. This episode and the Midnight Diary is dedicated to my beautiful daughter, Lara. I continue to live the best life I can in your honour, my darling. Thank you. If you or anyone you know has been affected by issues of prematurity or neonatal death, then please do reach out and find support. I can highly recommend the SANS community. SANS is the Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Society. It was a great source of support and comfort for me at a time when I couldn't see my way beyond each day as it came. My inbox is always open should you need it, and remember, there is always space for you and your babies with me.